I'm Dr. John Dabach, and I answer your questions. Let's jump into the email. Dear John, my husband and I had a miscarriage, and since then, he's completely shut down emotionally. He won't talk about it, won't comfort me, and acts like it never happened. I feel like I lost the baby and my partner at the same time. How do you grieve with someone who refuses to grieve? Hannah in Boston. Hannah. I'm really sorry you're going through this, and I'm not going to pretend this is a small thing that you can just work around, because the truth is it's not. You didn't just lose a pregnancy, you lost an expected future, a version of your life, and in many ways, a piece of your own identity. And on top of that, you feel like the one person who's supposed to be standing next to you in that grief has disappeared. That's a double loss. So let's start by grounding this in reality. What your husband is doing is incredibly common, and it's also incredibly painful. Those two things can exist at the same time. Many men shut down in grief, especially around a miscarriage, because they don't know what to do with it. They feel helpless. They don't have a clear role. They think if they open that door emotionally, they won't be able to close it. And so they default to avoidance. They go quiet, they distract, they act like it didn't happen, because in their mind, that's the only way to keep functioning. But here's the part that matters for you. Just because his response is common doesn't mean it's acceptable for your relationship long term. You don't need a perfect partner in grief, but you do need a present one. And right now, it just sounds like he's not present. Now, I'm going to say something that you might feel is a bit harsh, but hopefully it will help you understand what's actually happening. You're trying to grieve together, and he's trying to survive alone. Those are completely different agendas. You're reaching for connection, for shared pain, for meaning, and he's trying to contain it, minimize it, and move past it as quickly as possible. So every time you reach for him, you're asking him to go somewhere he's actively avoiding. That's why it feels like he's not just available, but almost gone. Now, here's where you need to be careful. If you interpret his shutdown as a lack of care, you're going to build resentment very quickly. Because from his perspective, he might believe he's holding it together for both of you. He might think, if I fall apart too, everything collapses. So he locks it down. The problem is that what feels like strength to him, without a doubt, feels like abandonment to you. And if that gap isn't addressed, it will grow. So what do? First, stop trying to pull him into the grief the way that you are experiencing it. That approach is not working, and pushing harder will make him shut down more, most likely. Instead, you name the impact of his absence without demanding that he grieve the same way you do. So what does that sound like in conversation? I'm not asking you to feel what I feel, but I need you to be with me while I feel it. That's a very different request. You're not asking him to cry, to process, or to open up in a way that he might not be capable or comfortable with right now. You're asking for presence. That's a lower barrier, and it's where you start. Second, you need to be very clear that ignoring it is not an option for the relationship, not in an aggressive way, but in a grounded, serious way. When we act like this didn't happen, I feel alone in something that was ours, and that's not something I can carry by myself. You're not attacking him, you'll notice, right? You're telling him the cost of his approach. Third, and this is critical, you need a support system. You need some kind of outside support other than just him. And I know you want him to be the one. That makes sense. But right now, he's just not equipped to meet you there. That's the sad truth. Now, that doesn't mean you stop needing support. It means you expand where you get it from. Therapy, support groups, close friends, people who can sit with you in this without shutting it down. Because if you rely solely on him right now, you're going to feel even more alone. Now, I want to say something, it might be blunt, If you watch my channel, you know I can be a little bit harsh, right? But if this pattern continues, it will damage your relationship. There's really not a question about it. Not because you're asking for too much, but because unresolved grief creates distance, and distance creates disconnection almost every time. So over time, you're going to start to see him as someone who wasn't there for you when it mattered most. And that kind of narrative is very hard to undo later. So this isn't just about grief. It's about the future of your relationship. And at the same time, you need to give him a path in, not a demand, a path. Some men don't enter emotional experience through conversation. They enter through action, through structure, through something that feels more contained. Now, that could look like suggesting something simple and concrete, sitting together for 10 minutes and acknowledging the loss, lighting a candle, something symbolic, right? Going for a walk and naming the baby in some way. Something that allows him to engage without feeling like he has to completely break open. You're creating a bridge, not forcing a breakthrough. Now, here's the truth that you need to hold on to. You can't make him grieve. You cannot force him to process, but you can be clear about what you need in order to not feel alone in this relationship. And then you watch what he does with that. If he makes an effort, even a small one, that matters. If he continues to avoid, dismiss, or shut down completely, then you have to take that seriously too. Because grief is one of those moments in a relationship that either brings people closer or exposes the cracks that were already there. So here's your answer. You don't grieve with someone who refuses to grieve by dragging them into your process. You grieve by honoring your own experience, asking clearly for presence, building support outside of them, and giving them a structured way to show up. And then you pay very close attention to whether they meet you there at all, because if they don't, this is not just about loss. This is about whether your partner can stand next to you when life gets hard. And that is something you really can't ignore. If you have a question you want me to answer, there are directions in the description below on how to send that my way for my team and I to consider it for this show. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for writing in.